New set is coming very soon, and that means it's time for another preliminary deck profiles for all the new grade 3s that are coming out for that set. Pretty much all the upgrades to like the favorites, like Vaga, etc., and Vaga. So for all the Flagbergians and the Rotovizorians, I don't know, whatever. Unfortunately, there is no deck profile for those. But I did actually make the Love and Berry stuff because they looked like a joke. They actually look pretty strong. I'm not gonna lie. So they're at the end. I'll discuss it more. But most of these decks are kind of just straight upgrades. So I'll just kind of go into the thoughts on how I built them, and you can kind of go from there, right? Again, these are all preliminary decks. Deck codes are below. You can build from these. If you don't know where you're going with your decks, right? You can try here and then make it better. Make it better than what I built. That's the best, because then I can look at what you built and go, yes, now I can build that. Anyway, let's get started with Vaga. So Vaga is pretty simple. If you look at the deck, it's pretty simple, right? Your ride line is the same as what you've been doing right now. Your new Vaga, the new Malworm Vaga, basically, it's like a Unison dress. You ride from the old Vaga. There's not really any advantage of putting this as your ride line, unlike the others. Spoilers. So we still have the old Vaga. The old Vaga is good anyway, right? It has a restand. It retires the front row. This one just does it better, but it just doesn't have any advantage when you put it there. So the main thing here is that with this, you get to restand the front row. Well, you get a restand, and then you retire the front row, and then after the battle, you retire the back rows as well, right? Everyone. So all front rows, all back rows are getting retired, and then your divine skill is not limited at your opponent being 4 damage. You can just pop it off. So less counterplay from your opponent and a full board wipe. Isn't that great? That also means that when you build your deck, your own board is going to be disappearing, which actually turns out quite fine because your own board disappears anyway, right? Remember all those grade 1s that you ran? They retire themselves and draw your card. So that means not much has changed. The value then for something like this dragon, from set 1, is actually pretty good because you just can't be retired. So I was thinking of running more copies of this, but then again, I want to try out more of this on the set 4. Is it Twin Pelishim Dragon? Whatever it is. Yeah, like this guy at least builds a board, right, which you'll be retiring. So like it gets value. So I did want to run this because it's still like an energy outlet, and then the rest of the deck itself is pretty much similar to before, right? Because you just want either stuff that goes back into your hand or draws you cards or goes back onto the field to make multi-attacks. The other new card that comes out is this one, this new grade 1. So what it does is that when it gets retired by your Vaga's effect, you can call itself out rested, and then you can in a back row, and then you can Soul Blast 1 if your Vanguard's in the Malworm straight, and then it stands. So it's basically like a booster that keeps on coming out, and then it's also a 13k booster. It gets 5k if your Vanguard's like Malworm state. So it's similar to this, except this one hits 15k and it gets a draw. But I guess I'm trying it out, just like another booster that you can maybe like boost a Regard, like for example the grade 3, or when your Shura comes out again, like make it hit a good number. Pretty much just that, right? It's like some value, and like if you retire, it comes back, so that means it's there for the next turn. So there's value in that. So that's basically the idea behind that. Otherwise, if he doesn't work out, you can always put back things like mid hats, right? Mid hats will work pretty well. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. Next we have is Eugene. So, I don't know why Eugene's in this set, right? When you think about, like, what Eugene does and what Vaga does, this deck literally just gets outclassed 100%, right? Just gets totally outclassed. Like Eugene retires the whole board. Vaga does the same thing, right? It retires the whole board. It retires both boards. So I guess, like, Eugene doesn't retire your own board. This one, you have, like, Best Harvest, which is cool. You have a Restander, but Vaga's Restand is probably better. Yeah. It's like, I just, like, there's a reason why this card is actually double R, right? This card's actually double R. It's like a weird set for this card to be in. Anyway, let's not talk too much about how bad Eugene is. What does it do now? So it's a new Eugene card. It is the same. It is treated the same as the old Eugene, same name. You can rest 2 of your Regards to select a column on your opponent's side of the board and then just retire that whole column. So that's nice. That's nice. And then when you attack now, you can counterblast 1 and soul blast 1, and look at the top 5, and then call 2 cards, up to 2 cards that are grade 3 and lower, and call them to the same column. So effectively making like 4 attacks at least. And then this card gets 5k, so Eugene becomes like 18k at least. And then if your opponent is grade 3 and they have they have 3 or more open regard circles, this card, the called units get plus 5k as well. So opponent 3 or more regard circles, bigger beater column, right? So that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. You also get a new ride line. I'm not going to go too deep into them, but yeah, just run the new ride line. They're better. And then you run like all the good support that you had before. So again, like this restander, Oswald, right? Oswald. This support from set 9. This will search for your best harvest, which is cool. And then you have this new card from set 5, which is basically a copy of like the old long neck, the Brachiosaurus, but it's literally just a copy. You soul blast 1, you rest it, and then you retire one of your opponent's side, and then at the beginning of the battle phase, if your opponent has like 1 or less regards, you can stand it and it gets 5k. So it's like working with that resting and all that junk. I guess like some of the new cards you probably don't know because you haven't been paying attention. This one was from set 2. This is Eugene / Gandiva support. But then when this is called, you can soul blast 1 and energy blast 3. So here's an energy blast outlet. You choose one of your opponent's regards and you retire, and then you draw a card. And then this card gets the red text once per turn. When your Vanguard attacks, you can you pick one of your front row regards and stand it. Right, so that's pretty good. That's pretty good. You'd also, the second effect is a continuous that if you've played a normal order this turn, this gets boost. So you ideally play like a best harvest, and then this gets boost, right? You can move it back and gets boost. Actually, there's a lot of things that get boost, but this one's nice because you can give using the red text, you can kind of, I guess, like give it to yourself. So you restand. So you'll have a situation where like you have this card, right, and your other side, you'll attack with the other column first. Then you can attack with this card. This is Drag Ritter Deergam, right? Deergam. You'll attack with Deergam, and then your Vanguard will attack, and then you can call a column, and then stand this guy, and then your Oswald behind the Vanguard can restand the Vanguard, so you can get a total of 6 attacks, right? 6 attacks. So that's pretty good, right? Is that more than Vaga? I think it's I think that's the. No, I think Vaga still has it around the same. Yeah, but no. This one can do 6 attacks. But then talking about things that get boost, I think this guy gets boost as well. So during a main phase, if you have retired, when you retire an opponent, soul blast 1, you stand this dude, and then it gets boost, right? So you rest it for Eugene's effect, and you can stand him, and it gets boost. So a bunch of things. That's why we run like not that many grade 1s. Basically a lot of things here have like some decent value. This is from set 1 Divines that no one wants, right? No one wants. It's a 10k shield if you're Eugene, and then during the the main phase, when your opponent's regard gets retired, and you have a Eugene, you can stand this, and it gets plus 5k. So again, like rest this, then stand it, get some power, right? Pretty good. But like otherwise, just put down stuff, and like they all get boosts, and try and hit big. You play down a best harvest every turn to try and draw a billion cards, and then you cry when your opponent runs ladder, because they will be running ladder, because Vaga just got support and it's retiring the whole board, so of course you run ladder. Like, why wouldn't you? So literally, because it's in the same, like if this card came out like 1 set earlier, maybe you'll see some play in my opinion, but because it's coming out in a Vaga set, it's I don't know, like Eugene like needs something to remove like the ladder. This deck just falls apart if your opponent plays a ladder and builds a board. That's it. That's the sad part. That's all the deck is. Interesting. The last card's a counter charger. That's all you need to know. Yeah, that's it. Anyway, moving on, we have is odium. So odium, I guess people are really hyped about this because you get another turn. But the other, it's like just a fancy full board restand, to be fair. I think it's like not too special. The rest, like the turns that you don't do your divine skill, that one turn you don't do your divine skill, are just 3 attack turns. So how do we maximize 3 attack turns? Well, we have to play more aggressively in the early game. You want to like rush down your opponent, so you hit them high, and then you can you know, do your divine skill, and you have like a devastating blow. Now, how do we do a devastating? Let's kind of talk about Odium's effect first. So, one, you get like a regression gauge. I think that's what it's called. And then for every I think a special the order. So this order, this thing, for every one of this in your regression gauge, you get plus, your front row gets plus 5k, which is pretty good during a turn. Of course. So you can have like up to 4 of those orders, and you'll get like your front row gets plus 20k, which is nice, which is great. Whenever this card attacks, you can soul blast 1 and then put a card from hand into your like gauge, and then you get triple drive. So it kind of refunds itself, right? Put 1 card down, get an extra drive. That's an extra card in hand. That's cool. And the divine skill is that at the end of the battle, if your regression gauge is like 5 or more cards, you can discard 2 cards, and then you gain a turn. And then during that turn, this card gets drive -1. And then during that turn, you also skip your ride and your main phase. So you'll lose all your powers, like all your trigger powers and all that. And you can't play anything down, but it is what it is, right? You gain another turn. Now, one thing that you have to note is that, yeah, this is a 3-attacker deck, and a lot of the cards start getting activated after your turn 3, right? Well, at your grade 3 turn. So the quickest way to hit that 5 gauge count, by the way, is also is on your 4th turn. So your persona, ideally your persona ride turn. And how the gauge works is that on your grade 2 turn, you can put a card into the gauge. So that's like 1. Then you can probably just like play 1 from your hand normally. So when you play it, you soul charge 1, and then you put in your gauge, and then you draw a card, and then give something your Vanguard plus 10k. All right, so you can play 1 naturally, and then the Liala herself will put 1 in. So that's 3, and then again you do it again in the next turn when you persona ride, and then on attack you do this again, and then that's 5, and then you reach 5 at the end of the battle. You can then use the effect and then win, right? Hopefully win. The other grade 3 that is very significant is this dragon. So this activates in the gauge zone, right? The gauge zone. And then at the beginning of the battle phase, if this card is in the gauge zone, you can counterblast 1 and pick a card from the drop zone and put it into your gauge zone face up, and then call this card to the rearguard circle. So this is kind of like there for the turns when you don't have the order. You can put this there, and it can come out later while putting the correct card into the gauge zone, which is nice. It's like a nice fix. Or you can put copies of itself into the gauge zone as well. So that's what you run 4, and then you can kind of like cycle like that. So these are kind of your filler slots, your filler gauge zone slots. And then when your Vanguard attacks, if your Vanguard is a Liel, grade 3 or higher, this gets 5k. And then if your gauge zone has 3 or more cards, you can energy blast 2 and retire a card on your opponent's side of the field. So that's pretty cool, right? But otherwise, yeah, it's like this is your filler slot, and then some other cards that are significant. This one, so this is like a Colossus, and when it's placed on the rearguard circle, if you have like a gauge, like the gauge thing, you can counterblast 1 and draw a card and soul charge 1, and then you have 3 in the gauge. It gets boost, right? It gets boost. And then I guess the grade 1 as well. When this card is placed, if your Vanguard is Leal grade 3 or higher, counterblast 1. Look at the top 5 and call it grade 3 or lower to the rearguard circle, and that's it. So that's the idea. Some of the special cards there. The main thing, the idea though, when you play this deck is, again, since it's a 3-attack deck, we have to be able to rush. We have to be able to push. And that's why I'm running Gungaram. So Gungaram, like, you can play it early, Soul Blast 3, draw a card. You also have 3 copies of this, the Dark Stage generic. But the main thing here is that her second effect only works when you attack a grade 3 or higher. So it's kind of slow. It's the same Soul Blast cost as Gungaram as well. And then her first effect, it works. It's like similar to Teeth Fell. Like when you play if you play this and you play an order, you can Soul Blast 1 and look at top 5 and call stuff. But you have to bear in mind that your orders, right, are all grade 3. So you can't actually play an order. You have to actually, you can't play an order until grade 3. Pudding doesn't work, right? Pudding doesn't work. You have to play. So you have to have one of these, play it down, do the effect, and then this works. So that doesn't work until grade 3. So that makes it slow. But there are other cards that do work, that help you rush. So I said Gungaram, but also this grade 2, right? This is when you play it, if you've, on the turn that you play it, or when you put a card into the gauge, You can pick one of your units that gets 5k. So you're not, like when you play, you're gonna get like 15k, right? It's 15k with an A, 23. That's pretty good. Helps you get numbers. And then yeah, this Colossus itself also just works. So you have like 6 grade 2 cards that can work when you just want to push some numbers, and then your Gungaram can work from turn whatever, like turn 1. And then you have 4 copies of this to kind of search out the orders. But again, you can't actually play this order from the drop zone when you're not grade 3. So which makes it slow. And it's kind of weird. Like, if you only have like 1 copy of this, do you really want to just use it immediately? You probably want to save it, right? So yeah, that's why I'm focusing a lot on just these like 6 grade 2s in this Gungaram. 10 cards overall that can at least play something down and do something earlier on. So yeah, that's pretty much the idea of the deck that I built. Is just push early, try and get some extra damage before like turn 4 is your kill turn, where you Persona Ride and then just do the extra turn and just like try and win from there. Alright, next we have is Resal Vita. So as you can see, I put like Vita into the Ride deck. The reason being is like, let's take a look at this card. So first off, you know, you have the first skill, which is similar to the Levy Dress skill. You gain all the it's called, counts as the original Resal. It gets power for each Resal in the soul. And then you get all the divine skills, right? You get all the divine skills. That's cool. But the second effect is now actually really good. So when you attack Vanguard and counterblast 1, and it's the same skill as before. You know, you call from your drop zone grades that are equal to your damage zone, but they have to be different grades. And then you call them, and then you have the add-on skill, which is you put a Resal from hand into your soul, and then you can call from your drop a grade 3 or less card to the Regard circle. And then if your opponent is grade 3 or higher, it gets all the things that are called gets 5k. So you can push, right, hit numbers. But the main thing is you call 3 cards, and that's pretty good, right? You can just build a board immediately, no matter how much damage you have. If you have 1 damage, you can call like a 1 and a 0, and then you can call a grade 3 or low. So that's just like 5 attacks immediately. I think when you go first, the only restriction is the power gain. So when you go first with this dude, you just go bam, slam him down, 5 attacks. Your opponent just feels sad, and hopefully takes a lot of damage. So it's just faster. It's just faster than the original Resal. And then the rest of the deck is, I've put in, you know, 3 copies of the OG Resal just because I want to like slide him in to soul all the time. And then 2 Gabrielis. Gabrielis is pretty good. You can look at top card of the deck, but the drive check is limited to like LB4. So that makes him slow. But remember, like, you don't have to always call him. You can just call things like Teethfeld, any Teethfeld, more Teethfeld. You can actually also call like Nilberis. And this guy's actually alright. So the main thing why you run him is you have the Energy Blast outlet and it goes to Soul. But remember, you're in a Vaga meta, and no matter how good or bad Vaga is gonna be, it's gonna be run. So by at least playing him, you can at least put one of your cards into your soul and cash back, right? It's not just there for your opponent to just fully on retire and it suck for you. Also, because we're kind of in like a Vaga meta, I'm running a lot of copies of the grade 1 from set 2 that lets you grab an order and put into the drop zone. So ideally, you play, it's just extra copies of Wisdom, right? But because you have a lot of grade 3s as well that you probably want to get rid of, sure, you have your booster, but this one will just always let you get a Wisdom, play it, and then you can just like build a board from that. I think it works pretty well. Early on, it adds like a beater, so you can just bash with it, and then yeah, it's a discard outlet, turns into cards. Right now, like, your CB cost is like still relatively the same as before, so it's all right. Like, there's no increases in CB cost. You never really had an issue with CB before as well. So being able to just probably play like Wisdom most turns and just build a board after getting Vaga'd, I think will just work out all right. So that's kind of just not that many changes with Vita, right? Not that many changes with Vita, but it does let you rush a bit harder. Okay. And then the last deck that got major support was the Levidras, and Levidras was actually pretty good. So the new Levidras, you just slot that card into the ride deck because it's just faster. It's like there's no reason why not to. All right. First effect is just the same as the resal one. You know, it gets like Levy Dress. It's called Levy Dress. It gets like power. It gets all the divine skills. So the act effect of Levy Dress just got buffed. Like it's just straight up better. You can counterblast one or put a card from hand into your soul. So that kind of solves the big issue of Levy Dress where you used to counterblast a lot. Use a lot of counterblast, but now you can just put something in soul. And then you pick you get two infinity markers, and you can basically place them on your side or your opponent's side of the board. Like you can pick and choose anywhere. You can like 1-1, 2 on one side, etc. Which is actually really good. The old one I think restricted you to like 1 on your side and 1 on their side. But being able to like buff up your own side like quicker is actually really good. But then the extra thing is that if you've put a Levy Dress into your soul as the cost, right? Remember you can put any card into soul, but if you put a Levy Dress card there, you get 3. You get 3 infinity markers, which is like accelerates quicker, which is great, right? And then you can like divine skill something like that. So yeah, I think this skill is just way better than the old Levy Dress. So there's no point in even writing the old Levy Dress. And then the last skill is just the same. It's just that, you know, the markers on your side give like plus 10k to your stuff, and then on your opponent's side you get minus 10k and draw a card. So yeah, I think they're great. I think this new Levy Dress is really good and just solves a bunch of problems. You also get a new support card as well, this Musketeer lady. In the drop zone, if you have 3 or more infinity markers, and you have like no cards of the same name on your side of the board, no regard on the same side of the board, you can soul blast one, just call it to a regard circle. So just another card that just comes out, which is important because remember, your board is likely just going to get retired all the time by the new Vaga. And then when it attacks as well, if you have a infinity mark in the same column, you can retire another regard, and then this gets 10k, and then at the end of the battle you can retire this card and draw a card. So you're converting one card to extra power and then sacrificing yourself to draw a card so it like filters back. So again, that's pretty good because you're getting rid of your board. Your board will likely disappear anyway because of Vaga, and you have like an option to at least get that back. Because now your Levy Dress doesn't require CB to use its Infinity Markers ability, Infinitize ability. You're using 2 CB per turn pretty much. So again, this is it a Fox Girl, right? This Beast Girl, you know, calls a card, which is good, right? Because your board will probably be empty because of Vaga. And then you have your extra attack booster, right? So that's 2 CB a turn. And then you have your counter charger here, so reduce that to 1. That also means you can run things like Diantha. So I'm running like 2 copies of Diantha as like extra copies to just call things, right? Because you might just not have a field, right? If you have a field, then this is just like whatever. It's like a 13k beta, it's fine. But yeah, it's just like you just have options now to be able to use that CB for something. And then we still run 4 copies of just this beetle, this mutant beetle, multi-attacker, gets cards, energy blast outlet, perfect. And then the orders, of course, you know, the ladder is always good. Ladder's always good. The seed for the multi-attack decks, and then two habitats just to kind of dig, right? Dig some cards that you might need. You might not always have this. You can kind of trade some of these cards to add like 1 more copy of the Musketeer, right? But it's you only ever want 1 of this card in the deck. I've seen people run like the Dual Nation stuff as well. That's okay. You know, check top deck and mill it, and then you can grab orders back, or you can call stuff back. I think that's pretty good too. So that would be probably, if you want to replace stuff, maybe the Diantha, maybe some of these orders. That's somewhere I'd go to as well. But yeah, overall, I feel like the Levy Dress deck is now like more complete. Way less CB usage means that you have like way more control as well. Remember, like, you always get to draw when your opponent attacks and you want to use like the minus 10k effect, so you can still draw into your pieces, which is pretty good. But yeah, that's what I think. Like, Levy Dress just seems really, really good now, right? Lastly, we have the Love and Berry decks. Now, this is what I'd like to call the Love Pile, because it is the Love deck with a Catapult. What does Love and Berry do? So what doesn't it do? Anyway, so this is similar to Mushi King in that it's a collab deck, but it seems pretty bloody strong. So there's 2 things you need to worry about. Is there's these things, these girls are called fashionable witches, and then they wear dresses. So this is a nice dress. Well, this is a hairstyle. You get a crest. You get a special Love and Berry crest when you arrive at the Grey Zero. You don't draw when you go second, by the way. But you do get to energy charge 3 all the time. And the crest is actually broken. So let's take a look at the crest. Like, they don't have it, but we can look at it here. So it forces you to not write anything other than a fashionable witch when this crest is put during your ride phase, or when your Vanguard is put during your ride phase. Choose up to a fashionable magic card from your drop and put it into the order zone. So it's the dresses. You put the dresses into the order zone. And you get one. You get to choose one. And then you have an act that is just insanely broken, I think. It's once per turn, Energy Blast 3. Perform one of the following. So you can look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose any number of fashionable magic cards with different grades among them, and put them into your order zone and shuffle your deck. So if you see like 4 different grades, you just put 4 cards into your orders. That's like insane deck thinning, alright? The other effect is you choose a card from your damage zone and put it into your drop, and then put the top card of your deck into your damage zone face down. If the card put into the drop is a fashionable magic card, you can put that into the order zone. So that just fixes your damage, right? And then it also has a third effect, or fourth effect, which is auto at the beginning of your battle phase. Soul Blast 2. Choose up to 2 fashionable witch with different card names from each other from your drop, and perform the following red text, which is, if your order zone has 2 or more different magic cards, fashionable magic cards written on that card, call that card to the rearguard circle for each of them. So what does this mean? So let's look at these things, right? I mean, these fashionable witches. You have these things listed here. These are all the different dresses, the different fashionable magic that they need to gain effects. So if you have at least 2 of these 3 in the order zone, you can call it out via that effect. So you get a +2 every turn. You confirm that you have attackers every turn. It's actually pretty crazy. How to build these decks? So every deck has a grade 3, they have a grade 1, they have a grade 0, and they have 2 different grade 2s. But for for Love, we're only running the one grade 2, because the other grade 2 is like, I think the main good thing about the other grade 2 is that you can on play CB1, look at top 3 and call a cup. It's just jank. Like, I don't think it's that good, right? Yeah. And then you just have to fill your deck with a bunch of these cards that don't really do anything except exist. Except the alarm clock. The alarm clock is pretty broken. So in the order zone, right? It's a set order. You can counterblast 1, bind this card, search your deck or drop for a fashionable witch. So you get a unit card, and then you can add that to hand. And then you can search your deck for a dress or a fashionable magic order. So you can search your deck for an order, and then put it into the order zone. So what does Love do? So Love's, well, okay, all the grade 1s do pretty much the same thing. They're ultimate. The 3 dress is a counter charge. If counter charge 1 if you have counter charge this turn. And then the first skill is you put something to soul. So that's pretty good. It'll just fuel your crest power. Your grade 2, the first effect, it's in order. So 1, 2, and 3 means how many of these you fulfilled. So the first one is once per turn when it attacks. You look at the top card of the deck, you can put top or bottom. That's pretty good, right? You can confirm triggers. Second one is just during your turn it gets 5k. And the third one is this card can't be chosen by your opponent's effect, and then it gets 5k shield. So that's pretty good, right? It just stays there, can't be chosen. And then the Love effect. So this first one is +1 drive. If +1 drive, second one is you get 5k. This is active in your opponent's turn as well, so it's 18k base on your opponent's turn. And the third effect is when it attacks, or at the end of the battle attacks, you can counterblast 1, and then you stand on your front row reguards. And then if your opponent is grade 3, those reguards get +10k. So it's like a 5 attack deck. You're always, with the crest, you can basically just call 2 fashionable witches usually. So you just call them to the front and just stand them. And that kind of just works out. Just also the +10, the stand for this effect and the +10k doesn't require witches. So they can stand anything. So that's why, Teeth Felt is pretty good, right? It's a fashionable witch. Look at this. Look, she's going good, right? She's going good. One reason why we're running the Ketapal is, let's be real, there are so many orders here that you can play down, and then you just build a board and then rush early, and then since it's like a 5 attack deck, you want to push your opponent as quick as possible to high damage. So we might as well just like yeah, just have a good early game and push with Selgions, because Selgion is Keter, right? I don't know why they put this one in Keter, but it's and then yeah, just push to 5 damage and then check triggers, and then hopefully we just win like that. So very quick, very rushy. One other thing is also, if you run both copies of the grade 2, it means you have to run more of this. You have to run more of these dresses, and it basically just means your entire deck is pure, right? You don't have any spaces to put in. This is just the love pile, right? This is the love pile. Keter pile with love, but then we have the pure berry deck, all right? Pure berry, right? This one is just everything. You run both of the grade 2s, and then you have like every single dress. This is the easiest way to build a deck. You just have all this. I don't know if all these dresses are correct, by the way. Just throwing this out there, because everything eventually just looks the same. But the easy thing with at least the dresses are that you can look at what they're wearing. So, and then you can just look at the picture. So the grade 3 is wearing this. Like, oh, you need this one. That's crazy. She's wearing a racer one. Oh, there it is. And then this one is wearing the grades, this one, and then yeah, you see how it works? It doesn't work for the hair though, which is unfortunately very sad. You can't see the leg, like the legs, you can't see the feet. So it only works for the dresses. But yeah, let's quickly just go through this, why we did it this way. First one is just the same, countercharger, put something in soul, because you want to just call stuff. The grade 2 that we're running as the main, so her first effect is on attack CB1 draw card. So that's cool. +1 is always nice. Second effect is gets 5k. And third one is on attack Soul Blast 1. And then for the battle, it gets plus 10k, right? Only when it attacks at grade 3. So it gets plus 10k, so that's cool. And then the other grade 2 is on Guardian Circuit, it's a 5k shield. The second effect is plus 5k. And third one is on attack Soul Blast 1. And for the battle, your opponent has to guard with 2. Not once per turn as well. Not once per turn. The level 3 berry card, grade 3 berry card. The first effect is at the end of the attack, right? Counterblast 1. And then from your soul, choose a card called Berry that is different name from this, and then ride it as stand. And at the end of the turn, ride this specific named Berry from your soul as rest. So yeah, you have to call a grade. You ride a grade 2. You can either call a big power grade 2 or a guard restrict grade 2, right? The second one is just plus 5k on both turns, and then the third one is at the beginning of the battle phase for the turn, your front row gets 5k. So this deck is much more focused on Vanguard attack, right? The other one, Love, was focused more on like 5 regard attack. This one you get like 4 attacks, but mainly Vanguard swings twice, so you get twin drive and then a single drive. So that's why, in a way, playing a pure berry deck works okay, because your top 7 from your crest is probably going to hit more with just more of this there, and then hopefully you can just kind of thin down as quick as possible, right? Ideally, I don't know. I don't know what to really think about this deck, but yeah. Also, the grade 2s are just kind of better. Like, just draw a card. You can kind of tank a bit more. Your 18k base. Yeah. It's slightly better. But yeah, that's all the new decks this time. Can't wait for how many people are gonna play. I think Love is actually pretty good. Like, you can even play pure Love, and these names are crazy. I'm just yeah, but I think these collab decks are actually pretty strong. And then a lot of the other decks here are also pretty strong, except Eugene. This guy needs to just, I don't know, like, give him like a good trial deck or something. Just give him some good support. Actually, if they make the support too good, then Gandir will get sad. So yeah, that's it this time. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Are you playing Love? Are you playing Berry? Right? I'll see you all next time. All right. Bye.